think I'd ever say this, Sam. Let's talk about something more positive, and it's a deathcore band. How about that? Lorna Shore's And I Return to Nothingness. It is out on August 13th via Century Media Records. Lorna Shore are absolutely one of the best bands in deathcore. Unbelievably talented. We had actually their guitarist, Adam D'Amico, as a guest on the previous Chris Meets of the podcast, and he's a great guy, really talented guitarist, and really cool to chat to, he was. And they've had some absolutely like awful luck. Their original vocalist, Tom Barber, left and was replaced by CJ McCreary. They released this really, really good album called Immortal in 2020 with CJ doing the vocals. Then allegations surfaced around him. He was removed from the band. And since then, they were kind of stuck in a state of limbo. And, you know, you had to wonder exactly what the future was going to hold for them. I always thought they would search and get another vocalist in. But such horrendous luck and such a short time span of that horrendous luck to take place in, you just think, you know what, if these guys think, right, we're done, I would understand. But my God, Sam, with Will Ramos at the vocal booth now, what an EP this is. This is really, really brilliant. I love this EP, mate.
If this was an album, this would be the album of the year.
Mate, this is absolutely incredible. This EP is. 3 songs.
Will Ramos is Satan.
He is what an astonishing vocalist. 3 songs long.
Like it.
One of them is To the Hellfire, which has been out for a few weeks. And, you know, To the Hellfire was immediately the talk of the town because of like the unbelievable, borderline, hilarious extremity of it, especially in that final breakdown. But I went into this EP, Sam, kind of hoping that at the very least, it would give me a reason to be optimistic about Lorna Shore's future. But actually, Sam, I've never been more excited. This doesn't just make me optimistic. This is like, oh my God, Lorna Shore. This is the best Lorna Shore I've ever been. When they do an album of this, they're going to be the best band in deathcore. And imagine me saying that. I was literally saying a few weeks ago, nothing better than No Lifeblood by Brand of Sacrifice. But then I was thinking, Slaughter to Prevail, I've got an album coming out, that might get really good. And then it's like, Shadow of Intent might drop an album. And then it's like, if Lorna Shore do an album, we've got this point where it's like, man, pick your fighter for deathcore? Because there's about 6 or 7 bands that are all amazing and all seem to be hitting their peak and hitting their stride at the same time. And
completely agree. I think I've never heard an album as an EP as good as this, where I've immediately been able to match it up with the Shadow of Intent record from 2 or 3 years ago, where I'm immediately thinking if this was an album long, it'd be like neck and neck. And that's how good that is.
The horrifyingly heavy breakdown of To the Hellfire obviously did the rounds on social media, and as awesome and cool as it is, I was kind of worried that one breakdown might end up being all that Lorna Shore can be remembered for from this EP, in the same vein as if you mention Shadow of Intent to someone who pays attention to deathcore but isn't like someone that would like trawl through it like me and you do, their response would be, the band that did the Heretic Prevails. And you'd be like, oh, yeah, but there's so much more than that. Do you know what I mean? And because of the way that To the Hellfire was picked up and everyone talking about like the snort and the horrible sound in the breakdown and stuff, I was worried that that's all that Lorna Shore would be pigeonholed into the band that did that breakdown. But mate, this EP is phenomenal. And the orchestral opening of the title track on I Return to Nothingness. Wow, mate, how stunning is this EP, man?
Incredible, absolutely incredible. What this does that completely blew me out of the water is it's obviously crushingly heavy. That's a given. We've all heard to the Hellfire. You mentioned that was like a social media sensation because it did really sound like we were torturing like a ghost or something that was going on in the background. It was just absurd. But there's real melody and beauty here, and it molds perfectly with the blast beats and the fast-paced nature. This really is deathcore at its absolute best, where it starts to merge into like new wave of black metal and a little bit of melodic death metal and a little bit of symphonic death metal, and all those sort of tangential ideas sort of converge together in this one sort of sound. But on top of that as well, the chorus is huge.
Yeah.
The breakdown is fantastic. The guitar solo is incredible. The opening guitar solo on that first track is just mind-blowing. Immediately just blowing anything else out of the water, in terms of what you expect and what you've come to sort of expect from a typical deathcore song. It contains every element that you want to hear from deathcore and death metal, but it seems to do it at just a completely different rate, with a polish and a sheen, and just a real craft. And I felt the same way with the next song, Of the Abyss. The Alongside the musicianship, what really, really stands out is that these songs are meticulously and beautifully structured, really, really, really well pieced together, just utterly stunning to listen to. I've never really heard a deathcore album that is so immediately, or the EP, sorry, so immediately easy to latch onto, so immediately engaged and compelling. Now, we love Shadow of Intent, we love Humanity's Last Breath, and even like bands that we reviewed that are sort of tangential to this, like Cognitive and things like that. We love those, but you have to give those a couple of listens to be like, oh, this, then this, and this. I've never heard a band where so much is going on and it's so easy to follow.
That's
Like,
a good
there's
point.
a really clear blueprint, but not in like a formulaic kind of way, but like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like easy to follow chaos. Like, it's really, really well ordered and structured, and really, really, really well written, from start to finish, to the point where obviously the vocalist is insane. Will Ramos is one of the best vocalists for this type of music I have ever heard. But he doesn't carry this album. He's just one cog in a terrific cohesive unit, because the guitar work is sensational. The atmospherics are amazing. The drums are obviously a given. It's a deathcore drummer. I mean, he's a machine essentially.
Austin Archer, yeah, he's brilliant.
You know, we keep saying the ceiling just keeps getting raised and raised and raised in terms of what is capable, what is acceptable, and what is required for this type of music. Now is just the ceiling is just higher than it has ever been. And it's utterly stunning. But what really makes it stand out for me is every deathcore band on the planet can write a breakdown. Can you write a song? And
Yeah.
Usually what I get, all right, here's the breakdown, the bit that we really like, and here's some other stuff that fills time before it starts and after it finishes. And it's just sort of, I'm just waiting around for the main riff. And we've said this a few times, you know, where like we kind of just feel like we're just getting back to the breakdown, and that's once that's happened, it's like we're kind of just repeating ourselves. It gets a little bit mundane. These are well-written songs, of which breakdowns and deathcore growls and mosh calls are parts of, rather than me feeling that it's like the sole thing the whole song is geared around, and everything else is just killing time. And I think that's really going to separate Lorna Shore, because, like I say, I always talk about Shadow of Intent as the bar for me, because I never really was a massive symphonic death metal fan at all, and I adore that album, and I really love that band now. And because of the way that it's packaged, produced, and written, it's immediately engaging, compelling, and is good enough to pull in different types of metal fans, such as myself. And I get the same vibe here. Lorna Shore are a band that you could show someone who does not like death metal or deathcore usually, and I feel that they can entice a metal fan in. I think if you're a massive fan of a collection of metalcore bands, if you're a big Alpha Wolf guy, or Knock Loose, and you're like hardcore, or you're like Employed to Serve, I think I could show you Lorna Shore. I do. And there's elements that you'd enjoy that also would be, you know, entry level stuff into elements that you'd enjoy of other things as well. And I think that would open up for you. And those bands are so important for the scene. Obviously it's a 3-track EP, so that has to be contextualized. But if they could produce an album of like where 8 out of 10 of the songs are in the neighborhood of how good these 3 are, we are absolutely talking about an album of the year contender, and one of the best albums of the last few years. That's how good
Definitely
these 3 tracks are. It's astonishing,
mate. The way that the orchestra of the title track is used as like a melodic hook is genius, because it's pushed against the raging deathcore that's behind it. So it's this really, like you said, it's really easy to follow. It's got this real hook and cleanliness to it, even though it's this horrifying, scratching deathcore rager. Will Ramos immediately makes his presence felt on the EP, like on the title track. And the way the synths and orchestra act as like a backbone makes the sound massive. Like, I think this is the best produced deathcore effort I've heard in mate, years. It's definitely up there with Melancholy by Shadow Intent in terms of production. The way this has been produced, mate, it sounds absolutely huge.
Pretty well produced as well. I'll give a shout out to Isaiah and Humanity's Lost.
Isaiah's Lost is really well produced. Austin Archer's kick drum, it sounds amazing. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, the moments where it slows down and he does like a kick drum or a slam on his snare, it sounds massive. Like, it is literally gonna. It sounds like, well, I thought my headphones are gonna blow up. It sounds that loud and tight. You were talking about Of the Abyss, mate. I love a gospel choir in deathcore. I do.
Yeah,
I love a gospel
but the thing is, when it's done well and doesn't feel cheesy,
it's so effective when used right. Yeah,
absolutely. And the same with the symphonic stuff. Sometimes I hear it and I'm like, oh god, here we go. And I don't feel that at all. Like, it added colour to the music and depth, and was not, it's not overused. It's not there for the sake of it. Honestly, man, this is stunning.
Mate, people are going to lose their minds when they hear this EP. I'm certain they're going to be.
To the Hellfire, I think, is the third best song on this EP.
Oh my god, I was literally going to say that. Like, I was worried that To the Hellfire it was Lorna Shore throwing the most extreme thing out there to try and get attention on them, and the rest of the EP wouldn't be up to scratch. To the Hellfire is the third best song on the EP. The title track is one of the most stunning deathcore songs I've ever heard. It is absolutely incredible. And To the Hellfire is a great song. And the closing breakdown is literally an extremity level that I've never experienced. But it's the third best song on here. And that is saying something. That is saying something.
Absolutely. Three 10 out of 10 songs. Just across the board, from musicianship to songwriting to structure to impact, production to everything. It's honestly, like, there is no flaws from what a deathcore song can be, should be, could be. This ticks every conceivable box. It's perfect. Do you like extreme metal? Yeah, well, this does everything you like about extreme metal, as well as you've ever heard it. It's got the technical lead mastery. It's got the deathcore breakdowns. It's got incredible massive choruses. It's got symphonic elements. It's everything. It's the whole table has just been taken. It's mate, I don't even know what more to say about this. This is a deathcore roller coaster, man. This is just extraordinary.
Lorna Shore, mate, have just become, for me, the most exciting band in deathcore.
Yeah,
because what follows the album that follows this, is going to be the most sought after thing in deathcore. Like, like Slaughter to Prevail, which we're reviewing next week. It really feels like there's a hype and a real energy and a real momentum behind them. Mate, imagine when Lorna Shore decide to follow this up. This is that album is going to be the most sought after thing in deathcore. It's going to be huge because this EP is going to blow people away. And Adam D'Amico he said in like the press notes that we got sent with the EP, that like, because of the situation they were in, where it was like, are we even going to be able to carry on? They decided to just throw everything at the wall and just try ideas they've never done before, like the orchestra, like the gospel choirs on the track Of the Abyss. And it's genius. It's amazing. I can't say enough about this EP. It's absolutely incredible. Lorna Shore are the most exciting band in deathcore right now because of this. Whatever follows this is going to be absolutely huge. And I'm so happy for them because they've always been brilliant and they got dealt a really tough hand. But the way they've come back from receiving that tough hand to build this, it's the best thing they've ever done. Will Ramos is the best vocalist they've had. Adam D'Amico's guitar has never sounded better, and that is saying something because he's an incredible guitarist. This is amazing. I'm so excited. This is incredible.
Completely agree. I think it's as well. It's a lovely symbol of a band being rewarded despite the misfortune that they've experienced, and it's a testament to taking risks.
Yeah.
If you believe in something, you want to try something new, go for it. And that they are, at the moment, I think, well, will be reaping the rewards of this when this becomes mainstream and this becomes heard around the
Poor mate.
around the alternative world. That that day on Twitter is going to be really, really,
Mate.
really interesting.
August 13th, Deathcore Twitter is going to talk about nothing but this EP. And you know what? Good for Lorna Shore, man. Good for Lorna
Absolutely.
Shore. They so deserve this. Amazing. What an EP. What an exciting, amazing band. That is where we're going to leave off episode 76 of the Noizze Podcast before my interview with Jamie Mathers comes in. We are going to be back next week. We are going to be reviewing the new Slaughter to Prevail album, Costalon. So Sam, as excited as we have just been listening, talking about Lorna Shore, mate, I'm really excited to hear to Costalon because me and you are big Slaughter to Prevail fans, and I'm very, very interested to see the same thing for Slaughter to Prevail, like I was talking about with Lorna Shore's To the Hellfire. Everyone talks about Demolisher, don't they, for Slaughter to Prevail. Demolisher is their like duality for Slipknot kind of thing. So I'm curious to see if Costalon can be an album that is more than just Demolisher and other songs surrounding it.
Yeah.
So that is going to be next when we'll release. Well, this is going to come out. This episode is going to be out on the 3rd of August. So I am going to release the Slaughter to Prevail review on the 10th of August. So we are going to be back on the 10th of August, our Slaughter to Prevail review. Thank you as always for your listens. Really, really appreciate that. Follow us on Twitter at Noizze Podcast. Subscribe or like or follow, depending on which service you are using for your podcast. Thank you very much. My interview with Jamie Mathers from Dude Trips comes up right now. Thank you for listening. We love you and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.